Hello and welcome to Bridgewater State University. On behalf of the university and the Munich Institute for Global Engagement, we thank you all for getting yourself ready and the time to share with us this afternoon. This event, as you see it on your screen, Iraq's Fragility in 2021, the current situation, challenges, and strategic comprehensive responses. We have three outstanding speakers. Two of them, they speak directly from Baghdad, and one of them speaks from Amman. This presentation or this event is sponsored by the Academic Affairs of Bridgewater State University, and also by the Munich Institute for Global Engagement and the MENA, Middle East and North Africa Studies Program. And also it is supported by the US Department of Education in Washington, DC. So welcome to the event. This event will be recorded and will be broadcasted in PTV9 and also online, and we'll make it available to all participants. And I will put the link for you so you can go to Global Programs YouTube channels, because we have our own channels there. I would be remiss if I don't thank Susan Williams for her help and effort to publicize this event, and also my friend, Dr. Cindy Kane from the Academic Affairs, because she did a lot to make sure that we reach the social media networking. And also Sasha Link, she also used her skills to publicize this event. Without further, I would like to introduce the first speaker. So the first speaker is Dr. Saleh Al-Mutlaq, is well-known, seasoned politician from Iraq, and also a national figure in Iraq. He knows politics from inside out, and also he is well connected throughout the world. He graduated from the University of Baghdad in 1968. Then he completed his PhD from the University of Abdera in 1974. After the invasion of Iraq in 2003, he was asked by Paul Bremer, then the Coalition Provisional Authority Administrator in Iraq, to join the committee tasked with the writing of the new constitution of Iraq. So that was the first constitution after 2003. From 21st December 2010 to 11 August 2015, he was one of the 3 deputy prime ministers of Iraq. Interesting facts about His Excellency, our first speaker. He was born in Fallujah, and Fallujah is well known, at least for our students and our faculty, and actually for the American citizen and American people. And also he is very interested in, and he loves farming and agriculture. So I'm stopped sharing, and I invite His Excellency Al-Mutlaq to start his talk, to give us historical background about the situation in Iraq and in connection to what is going on now. Dr. Al-Mutlaq.
Good evening to everybody, and thank you for having me with you. First, we have to say that Iraq now is a fragile country. It was fragile since 2003 till now, and it could be more fragile if the situation is going to continue as it is now. The first topic that we are going to talk about is the current political affairs and the political alliances in Iraq. Actually, the current political affairs in Iraq is very undisturbed and unsafe, which is considered to be very dangerous due to the absence of clear future vision to build a country with equity, justice, and human rights. So that the current political status and the presence of uncontrolled weapons and armed militants, all these are unhealthy and poisoned the situation in Iraq. And because of the lack of trust between the people and the politicians in this country, things are getting worse and worse, and it creates a mood, but not the right mood for the people towards the election, towards democracy. And this lack between people in the street and the politicians led to have more than 80% of the people did not contribute in the last election. So only 19% of the people shared in the election. That happened because they don't believe that their votes will go in the right way because of the cheating and the results, and also the threatening of people due to the presence of militias in the street. The intimidation of people in the streets also a factor. People are afraid to go to the election because they may risk their life. So they are not ready to go to the election and having their life to be risked. In the presence of the uncontrolled weapon in the street, which a vast number of militias are having it now. It makes the situation in Iraq is really fragile, unsafe, and we cannot expect that the election might happen in an atmosphere like this. The atmosphere in this country till now is not the right atmosphere for having an election which leads to real democracy. Democracy is not just going to the boxes and vote. Democracy means an institution. Democracy means human rights. Democracy means development in the country. Democracy means having a trust between the people and those who are running the election. And all these factors are not existing in this country. So having the election in such a circumstances is going to lead to more hazardous situation in this country. And when it comes to the rule of the American in Iraq, the rule of the United States in Iraq, we have to go back to what happened since 2003. The occupation or the invasion of the coalition led by the United States was based on the fact they said at that time that Iraq has a mass destruction weapon and they have to get rid of it. Plus, they want to free Iraq from the regime at that time. And now we have real mass destruction, weapon destruction in the country, more than what we used to have before. Because when they came in, they did not find They did not find anything from the weapons they were talking about. And they admit themselves that that was a mistake they had done. Tony Blair apologized, but apologized to his people, not to the Iraqi people. And he admitted that he made a mistake. When they invaded the country, it was an introduction before that in 1991, when the sanction started on Iraq and let the people starve from having no food in this country that they can bring from outside. Children were dying because of the lack of milk in this country. And there are a lot of consequences that happened in this country because of the sanction. So people were tired when the invasion happened to Iraq. When the United States came in, their aim was to get rid of the regime at that time, but they did not that. Actually, they get rid of the state of Iraq. So there was no state of Iraq. There was no state called Iraq after the invasion that happened in this country. They controlled everything. They destroyed everything. They destroyed the infrastructure in this country. They destroyed the education. Even the ethics of the Iraqis had been changed a lot because of the invasion that happened at that time. And the other mistake they had done is the irresponsible withdrawal from Iraq after 2010. And we warned them at that time. We told them, if you want to leave Iraq, we don't mind, but you have to leave it and not leave a vacuum after you that can be filled by other countries. And in fact, what happened is they left with irresponsible way, just for a sudden, and they left a vacuum which was filled by Iran, completely filled by the Iranian regime. And when the Iranian regime entered in this country and they filled the vacuum, they started making their militias in the country. So there was a state, or so-called a state, but there was another state controlled by the militia, which considered itself now as more effective in this country than the state itself, than the government itself. So now we are heading towards election. Election has to be done in the right atmosphere. So people will be confident that their votes will go to the right person. But with this atmosphere, I consider that people are very hesitant now to go to the election. And I am afraid that the contribution of people in this election may be even worse than what happened in the past election. And this will lead that only 18%, the representative for 18% will govern the country. And there will be more than 80% of the people, they are opposing what's happened in this country, and they don't like to be part of that political process. So my opinion is that if we want to do the election, if we want to correct the situation in Iraq, I think there must be an intervention from the international society to be certain that the election in this country is to be done in a transparent way, in a safe way, in the right way, so that we will go to start real democracy in this country. People are comparing what's happening now and what was before 2003. And with all the mistakes that happened through the period between 68 and 2003, with all those mistakes, unfortunately, people are saying now that at that time, we used to have real education, we used to have real health care, health insurance, real education, illiteracy became almost zero, or in fact, it was zero in 1979. But with the occupation now, the illiteracy is more than 25%. And this is a disaster in this country, to have 25% of the people are, within the illiteracy. Poverty in Iraq now, over 35%. So Iraq, the great country, which has the great potential, economic potential to build a great country, now is living in such a situation where thousands of people are, or hundreds of thousands of people are refugees, either outside Iraq or inside Iraq. With such a situation, it is a shame to those who are running the country, and a shame to those who participate in bringing that country to such a situation after 2003. So please know that, I will let the others also know that if you think we are living in a democratic way, it is a big mistake. It is a big mistake because all the elections that happened from 2003 till now was incorrect. And actually, every election is unfortunately becoming worse than the elections before. So we are going backward from time to time. I am afraid that after the coming election, we will have a situation where it may be worse than the situation now. What is going to happen? Either the intervention of the international society, which is a must, which has to be done, or an uprising in this country, an uprising which may contain millions instead of hundreds of thousands they demonstrated now. Millions of people will demonstrate and will change the existing situation now. Now, that was an alternative, but unfortunately, it will lead to a lot of blood in the street. And this we do not like to see, and we do not hope that it will happen with such a bloody situation. So the fair thing to happen is that the international society will do its best to save Iraq from the situation that exists now, and to bring the refugees that they are outside to come inside and give them the chance to also participate in the election, so that they will choose what they want from the people to run this country. When the Americans came in, they did not bring politicians to run the country, build the country. If there is a will, there is a way. If there is a will, there is a way. But there is no will among those people to build the country. They came in without having any experience in building the country. They came in as hatred people, and they came to take revenge from the people inside. So they started unfortunately also with the Americans, to destroy the Iraqi army, to dissolve the Iraqi army. And now we are kept with an army which contains militias, people who are not trained, people who are not real nationalists, people who do not think of an Iraqi identity, to the extent that the militias outside, sometimes they oppose the army, which was known as one of the very important and very, very, very serious, and among all the armies in the world. Now, militias are facing it. And you remember when Daesh entered Iraq, entered Mosul with not more than 700 people, they pushed at least 40,000 soldiers and officers, and they occupy Mosul, Salah ad-Din, Al-Anbar, Diyala, Kirkuk. That happened because we did not build the right army, which believes that their job is to protect the country, not to face the people inside the country. The other thing they did is they went to establish the de-Baathification law, which led to empty the country institutions from efficient people that they have been trained for such a long time. Many of them studied outside, get their BSc outside, and then their PhD outside, and they came in with a real capability to build the country. But after de-Baathification, they emptied these ministries and these institutions from the capable people to run the country. And that led to have employees in these ministries which has no efficiency at all to run the country. This is why our economy is going backward. Our financial situation is getting very bad.
Okay, thank you.
Because they only depend on the oil.
We'll stop there. So we'll give other two speakers a chance to speak. Thank you so much for this historical perspective, and also it's really glowing picture. So we'll have a lot of questions for you. Thank you so much. And let me invite the second speaker, just in a second. Okay, so our second speaker, the Honorable Hannah Adwar, is a human rights, women's rights, and democracy activist for more than 50 years. Earned her BA from the University of Baghdad in Iraq. She is the co-founder and chairperson of Iraqi Al-Amal Association, a local NGO established in 1992. She is the co-founder of the Iraqi Women Network since 2014. And under this umbrella, there are hundreds of women's organizations and groups all over the country. Mr. Edward, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am so glad to be with you here and to speak about our situation in Iraq in the current, in today's times. I would like to summarize in 3 words only the current situation and the coming, in the very near future in Iraq. What is it? Where I can say that it is tired, it is distress, and unknown. This is now what we are living in, this situation. Just the 3 words, which really translate and the current situation where we are living in a failed state that we have lived during 17 years ago, where we didn't have, where people now feeling alienation from the institutions, state institutions, that this state institutions is not serving for people. It's serving only for the elites, that's these politicians that they have come and they have running the situation within, how you say it, I can speak about corruptions. This is not only the international and the regional elements or factors of the intervention in the Iraqi situation, but the question is that the politicians that they have control, they have the control of the of the politicians in the countries. They are majority, if not all of them, they are corrupted. This is unfortunately that we have lived, and we can see from that the great, huge budgets that has been, during these 17 years in Iraq. Where is it? Where we are living now, that the damaged, structural buildings and all these services being damaged all these years, and there were no projects for surviving or for developing this structural for the people, where we can see the failures of the public services, failures of people feeling secure in their homes or in their countries, where we feel that people have the IDPs, so millions of people under the displacement. A lot of people have left the country outside, especially the young people and the how we say it, qualified people leaving the country outside because of feeling that they are not feeling in their countries that any secure, or there is no safety for them, or there is no room, because the whole institution, state institutions, is being really run by the politicians. They're either they are sectarians, or they are corrupted, or they are tribals, or they are malicious, and so on. This is the current situation where I can say that it's failed state in Iraq now. It's not the questions of elections or questions of that there is some, how we say it, mistakes here. No, it's the whole system is now, it has been under, that people, they have no trust of that. Within this, I can speak where I am living in Baghdad and working daily with the people. I can speak about, to give you only just a very small hints on the situation now, in the current situation. In these 2 days, really I was so upset when I am hearing the question, the stories of drugs in Iraq now. The stories of, huge numbers of young people, especially in the south of Iraq and in Baghdad now, that they are, using the drugs. And it is really damaging the new generation of the country. It's not only the drugs among young people, where I heard the stories of even children being hit by these, very awful things, that the drugs is being scattered all over the country, where you can see in this country where it is 65% of this country is children and young people. You can see how much it will hit this our situation, not now only, but in the future too. Then I would like also to speak about, from this 2 days only, that's when I speak about, the questions of suicides among young people, suicides among women, young women. It's begin increasing in these days, in this situation, where people, they have lost hope from life, hope from any, improving in their situation, where poverty is being really, how we say it, crushing huge numbers of people, not only poor people, but even the, how we say it, middle class people. This situation is how much people they can, resist of that. But also at the same time, I would like to mention from my, contacts in these 2 days only, when I meet with young people where I found them, they are volunteers, they are bringing a lot of activities, voluntary activities all over the countries, where they are full of energies to work, not only to make, emergency or relief on so, no, but they are working on very important issues. When they speak about uh, young people political empowerment, or they are speaking about economic empowerment, or they are speaking about domestic violence, or they are speaking about principle of justice and equality. And these people, they have come not only from middle class, they have come also from poor, strata, and from cities where it is considered as traditionals, it's conservatives or religious. But they are being open now, in open-minded, in free thinking. This is thanks to the social media. This is the experience of exchanging, which has really developed huge, numbers of people involved in this voluntary actions and voluntary work. But not only that, but they have also trying to join themselves, trying to exchange their experience, not limited, in a close cantors and so on. No, but they are working, trying to open themselves to each others. From Mosul, they go to Najaf. From Basra, they go to Sulaimaniya. From Ambar, they go to Kirkuk, and so on. And I feel that it is really, this is one of the hope that we have in our current situation. That these young people, it is developing themselves, open-minded. They have really break down the traditional, views towards politics, towards the system in the country. They have no, links with the past, no links with the past, no links with even they have cut now, break down the Islamist, traditions or tribal traditions. And this is, I feel, I can say I am optimistic about them. The third things that I have met in these 2 days, where young people, they are organizing themselves in a new political party, and with a new vision. Is not they don't want to be under the traditional political parties. They are trying to organize themselves within a new political parties, with a new vision of Iraq, with a new vision about relations, when they speak about diversity, when they speak about pluralism, and this is which has really bringing hope for us. And I feel that's a plus to that, where October 2019 has really done a big change in the political, screen in Iraq, where you can see that the huge number of people have been involved in the uprising, October uprising, and has been really, continued all 1 year. But now, even today, before some days ago, in Nasiriyah still going on, in Wasat still going on. What is amazing for me, these young people, with their determination, they try to speak about their identities as Iraqis. And this is very different from our politicians who has scattered Iraqi within, their sects or religions or minorities or something like that, which I feel within this, but they need help, they need more. This is only the beginning. When they speak about break down all these traditionals, or they break down the damage of politics in Iraq, they are trying to bring new, fresh ideas about citizenship, about principles of social justice, about the principle of rule of law. Of course, they have great challenges in this situation. And it needs sometimes more. But I feel that within this, when I see not only young people, male, but female, they are joining in the situation where female, they have been always been, how we say it, controlled by the patriarchal, system, by tribal traditions, by conservative customs, and so on, where they have broken down all these situations. This is the start, which I feel today, that the change in the situation with the great sacrifices that they have made during this 1 year, more than 700 people being killed in the demonstrations or assassinated, or they have been really, how we say it, been kidnapped or tortured, but they are continued. And this is what we feel from the international community, that where is their support to this, a new arena in Iraq? I don't want to look only about the tradition, about the politicians, the traditional politicians who has failed in all these 17 years in their democracy, in the speaking about democracy or speaking about their, change of the economy and so on. Still, economy is being really broke down. Where economy broke down, the budget is empty, the treasure of the country is empty, the corrupted is so spread all over the country on the state level and within the society. So what is now, which I feel that we are trying when we speak about, how we say it, transitional justice, when we speak about reconciliation, when we speak about, how to defeat terrorism and fundamentalism and how extremists in the coming years. Of course, the coming election, I don't feel it is the solution. The solution is more than the elections. The solution, it means more that's how we can make people trust people that they have the country to fight for their country and to believe that this state is for their benefits or for their interest. It is the things that we have to build on the trust between the citizens, between the people and the state apparatus, where it is not easy. Especially that when we see that there is no rule of law, that absence of rule of law, that many people being killed, and nobody speak about the accountability of or the perpetrators of these killing who are. And we don't see that even the corruption is running on in the security apparatus and in a so high level even that. So it is our messy and our, how you say it, tragedy. But I feel that we have the potential of, of young people, the potential, because these young people, they are living the life, and the future is for them. It's not for the traditional politician or the older people, that the future is for them. And that we depends that they are trying to resist and they are struggling to improve the situation and to be that the leaders of the country in the coming years.
Thank you. We'll leave it with this optimistic message. Thank you so much. I will. That's a great, really picture. At least we have some hope there. So thank you for sharing that. Bring our last but not least speaker. Just give me 1 second here, and hopefully we'll be able to introduce him. All right. So Dr. Munkad Dagher is a CEO and founder of the Independent Institute of Administration and Civil Society Studies Research Group Al-Mustaqbaliyah in Iraq, a Gallup International board member, Dr. Dagher obtained his PhD in public administration from the University of Baghdad. He also holds a master's degree in war sciences. It's very interesting. Dr. Dagher taught in Baghdad and Basra universities, and also he taught in the National Defense University. He's well known, has a lot of studies articles online. He's associated with the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, and you see the link there. So he is well read and his research is well recognized. My friend, Dr. Dagher, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Jabbar. I'm pleased to speak to you this afternoon. Hopefully, I will present a useful and constructive views about Iraq. This time, I will talk or I will present the situation from a different angle, from as a pollster, as the first pollster in Iraq, and the MENA region director of Gallup International. I will focus more on the public opinion toward the situation in Iraq, and I will not claim to be more optimistic than my previous speakers, but I will try to provide some solid evidence about what's going on. Of course, due to the time limitation, to time span, I won't be able to present all deck of slides that I prepared for this. So maybe I will skip some of these slides, but it is available with Dr. Jabbar, and I believe that he will publish it to whom is interested in it. So at that point, I will start my presentation by sharing the situation in Iraq right now. What is the current situation in Iraq? What do Iraqi think of the current?
We didn't see the slide. Do you want to share it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I pushed the button of sharing, so I don't know why it's
Open it up on your desktop.
I opened it. I already opened it, and now, do you have it now?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
you can go to the full slide, please.
Yeah, I will. So what is the current situation in Iraq? What do Iraqi think of current situation in the country? Let us look at these longitudinal figures which reflect clear distrust in present and unfortunately also in future of Iraq. Just for your information, I have launched the first ever poll in Iraq history that was just 2 weeks after the invasion. And since that time, I've been tracing Iraqi public opinion. Since that time, I've conducted more thousands of nationwide surveys, more than 2 million face-to-face interviews according to the international standards, the best practices in that field. So all what you will see here is based on solid methodology, solid scientific methodology, and based on longitudinal trends. So now I say that the situation in Iraq is not that good. This is a standard question that we as pollsters usually use about how people perceive the situation in Iraq. Is it going in the right direction or in the wrong direction? As you can see, the wrong direction is in red, So since 2005 till now, we have seen a sharp decline in the right direction. So now in 2021, we are here, 23% of Iraqis thinks, only 23%, less than one of 4 Iraqis think that we are going in the right direction. And about the future, would Iraqis think that life will be better or worse? As you can see here, those who are saying that future will be better, only 30%, less than 1/3. And most of the people either say that it's the same, it will be the same, 24 or 45%, it will be worse. So what are the obstacles, the real obstacles to progress in Iraq? There are a lot, but I've tried to summarize the main factors as I saw it through these 17 years, through all research that I have done. The first and the utmost important obstacle is kleptocracy, corruption. The second one, which for me is the mother of all sins in Iraq, political sins, social and political distrust. And I will show some figures about every single power of these. The third one is the power of informal armed actors, and the rentier economy is the fourth force. Let us go to the first one, corruption. As you can see here, we have been tracing the public opinion toward corruption. It's always increasing. Right now, 95%, almost all Iraqis think that corruption is widespread in Iraq. Just for your information, as a pollster, I've been always asked whether these are real figures or wrong figures or perceived figures. For me as a pollster and for me as a researcher, the human behavior is decisions or is based on perceptions, not on facts. So if 95% of people think that Iraq is corrupted, regardless of whether it is really 95 corruption or not, but since the people perceive this, then it is a fact for people and they act accordingly. They behave accordingly. How government is serious? Not serious, as you can see. These figures represent not serious. Almost 80% of Iraqis think that the government is not serious in fighting corruption. Now, the second power, lack of trust. This is for me an amazing thing. It's a huge obstacle. No reform can be done in Iraq unless we bring back trust, whether trust in institutions or trust among people themselves. Actually, in all state branches, whether it's the executive branch or the courts or judicial or the parliament, all these branches had always a very, very low trust among people. As you can see here, the red one represents a trust of Sunnis in government, and the blue one represents the trust of Shias in government. Of course, after 2017, we have witnessed a new phenomena in Iraq public opinion. The Shias used to be more happy about government and had more trust in their government, and Sunnis, on the contrary. After 2017, after Daesh had been kicked out and due to what we call relief phenomena, the shift happened, and right now 27% of, and this is just 1 week ago, 27% of Shias only have trust in the Iraqi government versus 46% of Sunnis. In general, Sunnis have more trust in the government, especially with Kadhimi right now. They showed a higher trust than Shias. Trust in parliament, it has been always very low. Right now, 18%. Even trust in religious institutions. And this is one of the most favorite slides for me. As you can see, starting with 2004, we are almost 80% of Iraqis had a trust in religious institutions. Right now, it's 38% only. Even among Shia, it's only 41% who have trust in religious institutions. This had been damaging the entire environment. So unfortunately, the trust in personal relations in Iraq, we always ask this question, I can trust the people in Iraq. We started on 2013. Of course, I have a more historical data on that. But on 2013, 40% of Iraqis trust each other. Right now, only 7% of Iraqis trust each other. Iraqis right now are very polarized, and they have very little trust in each other. And this is one of the main obstacles to any reform. Of course, this has a lot of reasons behind it, but I want just to show figures, and maybe in Q&A can answer other questions. So the third power, the militia power, or what I call it in a research with CSIS, we call it the ghostocracy of Iraq. Iraq is governed by a government of ghosts, not the formal governments, which means the militias. And as you can see here, the question, what influence do you think the following organizations have on internal events and affairs in our country? As you can see, we ask about the Iranian-backed militias, 85%. And this is, guess what? This is among Shias. 85% of Shias, they think that militias have a negative influence on Iraqi politics. This is also very interesting. It's a comparison between the influence of ISIS or ISIL in Sunnis areas, here, Daesh sleeper cells in the, on the left, and on the right is about the other militias in the south of Iraq or in Shias. As you can see here, those who concern among Sunnis, almost 43% of Sunnis, they are concerned about sleeper cells in their areas. And, and in Shia's areas, 41%, almost the same. Here we have 41%. Here we have 43% in Sunnis. Shias 41%, but from Shias militias. From Shias militias. Of course, I will skip this. Now the fourth power, the bad economy or the rentier economy. These are actually figures that I have got from ESCWA and from the World Bank. And as you can see, in 2007, the middle class of Iraq is 61%, was 61%. The upper class, according to the international definition of the World Bank, to the upper class and middle class and poor class. Poor class was 16%. Right now, the middle class of Iraq on 2020, this is even before coronavirus effect, it's 30% only. So from 61%, the middle class right now is 30% only. This is the 60% now. This is the lower, I mean the poor. These are either living under the poverty line or are exposed to poverty according to the World Bank. So almost 60% of Iraqis right now either poor, very poor, or exposed to be poor. And the upper class is only 10%. And this is also another chart about the same, the movement or the changes which took place about the lower class, middle class, and upper class in Iraq. So it's clear that Iraqis need a change. So as you can see here, 94% of Iraqis, 94% of Iraqis, almost all Iraqis, they want the toppling of the ethno-sectarian system. 94%. So we have two paths of change. Either through uncontrolled change, revolution, military coup, or prolonged protests, or through controlled change, which means election. Let us see, of course, the figures are not very helpful here. As you can see here, clearly Iraqis are very unhappy. Minority of all Iraqis believe that the most efficient way to affect political decision making is through voting. The minority. The majority, they think that it is through protest, through uprising. And Shias are the most likely to believe that protesting is the best way to influence the political decision-making process. So almost 25% of Shias believe that protesting is the best way versus 13% of Sunnis and 7% of Kurds.
Okay, so let's stop at this last slide, please, and then we'll open it to questions and answers. Yeah, go ahead, finish this, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead and address this, please. Dr. Munkar.
Yes.
Yeah, finish it, please.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I will finish it. You mean I skip it? Okay. Just to say that 60% of Iraqis right now, they support the uprising. So is it stopped or not? Okay, stop. Yeah, I think it's stopped now.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. It's a very inspirational presentation with a lot of numbers. So now we open up the floor for questions and answers, and I will like to start with One question came from one of our audience. It's a general question. I would like to probably ask His Excellency to answer this question, which what are the possibilities, if any, to transform the Iraq crisis to be great opportunity to rebuild the country? So that's a question to Dr. Saleh Al-Mutlaq. And the second question to Hannah Alvar is, what are the roles of women in rebuilding Iraq and also raising the new generation, if that's a possibility? And for Dr. Munkad is, how we, in your opinion, and based on the evidence and the numbers and the qualitative and quantitative studies that you have wonderfully done, how the Iraqis can rebuild this question of trust and mistrust between themselves and also between themselves and the government. So start with His Excellency, Dr. Saleh Al-Mutlaq, please.
Thank you very much.
I encourage you all to have a really very focused answer so we can have more conversation. Go ahead.
Before, the main risk for Iraq was terrorism, Al-Qaeda, then Daesh, which made instability in the country, which prevents also the country from rebuilding itself. But now, the main obstacle to build the country again is corruption. The corruption in Iraq is becoming huge, and we're hearing about, and you are hearing about, hundreds of billions of dollars have been escaped from the country because of the corruption. So with the existing corruption, there is almost no possibility of using the income to Iraq to build the country. The other thing is, with this system that we are in now, that people are not really keen on building the country. They are using the country to, to get more rich than they are now. And they are very rich actually, but they want to get more rich. So corruption now spoiled the election, spoiled the economy, spoiled the people themselves, because unfortunately corruption has spread from the politicians to even normal people, normal employees. Wherever you go, you will find the corruption is there in any institute in the country, and even to young people. And this is very dangerous when the young people has started to think that since the people are at the top, they are stealing the money. Why don't we steal? So you listen to a guy, 25 years old, he would say, I want to build my house, therefore I want to go through that direction, the direction of corruption. And when you tell him why, you said you will hear him saying that if the people, the elite people are stealing, why shouldn't I steal? If the older people are stealing, why shouldn't I steal to build my future? So this is a very dangerous situation unless those people who are corrupted will be in jail, so that there will be a lesson to everybody who is going to practice such a bad thing. Unless they will be in jail, this will continue to increase with time. And also, you have to bring efficient people to run the country, not according to how to be part of that party or to be a relative to someone, to bring the right people for the right job. And this is not happening now. So with the existing situation in Iraq, unfortunately, I have a big doubt that we really can rebuild the country. The international society also is not doing its best to help the Iraqis to build the country. When Daesh came in, Daesh destroyed a lot of areas. And Daesh is not created in Iraq. Daesh was brought to Iraq to fight them in Iraq. And they destroy most of the provinces in Iraq, especially in the Sunni region.
Thank you, Doctor.
It is the responsibility of the world to help Iraq to get out of the situation it is in now.
Thank you so much. Your Honorable Hannah Edward, please, women role in this case.
Thank you. Of course, Iraqi women have history of being involved in the state and in the development and in the development process, as well as in politics for a long time. But now we are facing, how you say it, challenges, great challenges, challenges of safety, challenges of tribal customs, and challenges of religious and sectarian, fatwa or behaviors and so on. It is not easy, but at least women in Iraq, especially after 2003, when I speak about civil society organizations and women movement, they have really, how you say it, focus on the questions of women participating in politics and participating in, especially in making decisions, positions. It has become within our demands for quota in Iraq, and that's we could really succeeded when we have integrated quota in the parliament, not less than 25%. It was what we have speak about achievements, where we can see from the total of 329 of MPs in Iraq, there are 83 women, they are MPs also in Iraq. This is what we can speak, that was a good start, but it wasn't really has continued on that questions, because that has been used by the traditional political parties against women, where they have chosen women without political qualifications, without backgrounds of politics, to be integrated and to be nominated as MPs. And that was really tragedies for the quota. Anyhow, I can speak that within these years, that women, they have also tried, with the number of elections, courses, that women, they have made a great ambitions to participate in the parliament or in the governing, in the council of provinces. It has really increased that the women being ambitious to participate actively in politics. But what we have faced with, defamation campaign, faced with sexual, threats and with sexual assaults against these candidates, but without, safeguards from the political parties that she belongs to. And this is that's when we see women are hesitate to nominate themselves again in the coming elections. Anyhow, this is one of the things, but we have seen where I can speak about 13th of February of 2020, where huge thousands of women, especially young women, they have been involved in historical marches in about 10 provinces in Iraq, in the south and in the center of Iraq. That was historical marches of young women. That's when they raised their support to the uprising in Iraq. That wasn't, organized, but it was really simultaneous. And the anxious of young women to participate in the uprising, where we can see that a number of these women being killed, from Basra, from Baghdad, from Diqar, from Najaf, from Karbala also. that these women, they have sacrificed themselves for this, for the change, for
Thank
the
you.
reform. That's we can speak about that women, they have the ambitions to participate for change, to participate not only for change for the country, but for the breakdown for their human being and human rights as they are, citizen in this country.
Thank you. Dr. Dagar, so based on your studies, this question comes from Dr. Medero, is about the judiciary system in Iraq. Is it good enough based on your studies that to control the corruption or reduce the corruption and hold people accountable?
Yeah, actually, this is very unfortunate. I mean, during the first 10 years, from 2003 to 2012, even, there was a high trust among Shias and Kurds in the judiciary system. Always for Sunnis, it has not been trusted. But after 2016, we have seen a sharp decline in Iraqis' trust, whether they are Shias, Sunnis, or Kurds, in the judicial system. That's why right now, only 35% of Iraqis, they have trust in judiciary system. A lot of Iraqis, they prefer to use a different mechanisms for loosening or for any to set up any struggle other than going to the judiciary system. The trust, as I've told you, is a huge problem in Iraq. People distrust each other, distrust institutions, distrust everything. And right now, unless we can overcome this, unless we can overcome or bridge the gap between people themselves at one point and between people and the institutions at the other point, there is no hope to any reform.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I open the floor, I deliberately delayed this thank you word. This thank you word to my friend, dear friend, actually, Professor Tahir Al-Baka, because he spent a lot of hours coordinating this event with me. And if you don't know Tahir Al-Baka, Dr. Tahir Al-Baka was actually the minister, former minister of higher education and research in Iraq. So thank you, Dr. Tahir Al-Baka, for your friendship and for helping us. If you have a short question or short comment, please unmute yourself and go ahead. We have 5 minutes. Anyone?
If I may, Jabbar.
Yes,
thank you so
yes,
much
Dr. Fauzi, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the wonderful panel and for the historical and research that you have done in contemporary Iraq. I'm wondering how the historical relationship between the two countries, I'm from Iran, between Iran and Iraq, you think could be resolved, because the mischievous behavior of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Iraq is not hidden from anybody. But the relationship between the two countries are deep. There are historical ties, and it's almost impossible to break these relationships. The historical relationship, in particular, between the Shia Muslims in Iran and the upper echelon Shia hierarchy, and the historical relationship between the religious cities. So I'm wondering how we can address that problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your excellent question. So I'm going to take this question to His Excellency, Dr. Saleh Al-Mutlaq, because he spoke about that. Go ahead.
The Iraqi regime built its constitution on the revolutionary sending to the other countries. So they want to explore those theories to all the neighboring countries, especially the Muslims country. So this is their aim. Unless there will be a pressure from the international society on Iran to stop that. And the main thing is the United States, which has a deal now with the Iranian to especially to sign the agreements with them. Unless the United States will press on that, so that Iran intervention in the neighboring countries will stop, I don't see any reason why Iran, with its philosophy of the Islamic revolution, and I don't see any reason why it will stop, because it's their theory. It's the theory that they base their government on. So it is based on the existing government in the United States and the European Union. But the main thing will depend on the United States, actually. And now we could see there is a big flexibility from the existing government in the United States, especially since Biden came in. And we could see a lot of interference from the Iranian and the other countries, but we see no reaction, no real reaction from the United States. If this will continue with such a flexibility, such a diplomacy, I don't think there is a way to stop Iran from intervening in these countries.
Thank you. It's very clear answer.
Dr. Jabbar, I have a comment here.
Yes, yes, go ahead. Yes, please.
I have some numbers here. Maybe it's very interesting numbers for you, because I've been tracing the feelings and the perceptions of Shias towards Iran and toward United States as well for the last 15 years. And guess what? Iran has lost. I mean, we are talking about the political relation, not the social relation, the political relation. Iran has lost, apparently, its main power in Iraq, which is the soft power. On 2005, 80% of Shias in Iraq, they had either very favorable or favorable opinions about Iran. Guess what? On 2021, only 17% of Shias, they have favorable or very favorable opinions toward Iran. On the contrary, now Shias, even toward USA, well, they always had, for the last 5 years, they always had very low perceptions about USA, yet 20% of Shias, they have favorable or very favorable, even more than toward USA, even more than toward Iran. So Iran is losing its soft power as an example for Iraqi Shias, and unless they review their policies toward Iraq, I think the slogan of Iran Barra Barra will continue in Iraqi streets for a long time.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to invite Dr. Maduro, who is the director of MENA Studies Program, to offer his closing remarks.
It was wonderful for having organized this. I had to thank Dr. Jabbar and his friend for making this so successful. I'm really, surprised about the honesty and the frank opinions that were, offered in this meeting, because if it was the same context in a different country, probably could have been arrested. So one can tell that there is really still democracy still happening and existing in Iraq. So the two common themes that I've noticed all across is, one is trust, lack of trust. The second one is corruption. So these two are kind of vibrant in Iraq. Looks like Iraq political life as well as social life or as a common. So how do you provide solution to this? How do you, I mean, everybody has agreed, like you have 95% mistrust, Dr. Mukit Dagher has stated in his research, and like all the other speakers. So one suggestion is, like, I'm from India, so we have what is called Right to Information Act. If somebody feels that he's been kind of sided in terms of through corruption by the government official, he can officially write a letter demanding the government to provide all the statistics related to that particular activity. So now the government has an obligation to provide the entire information, whatever as a citizen has asked the government to provide. So from that, you can go to the courts. So therefore, I mean, at least the Indian government still has a judiciary system which one can kind of rely on. So that is one fundamental element. So you cannot have a judiciary system that would be corrupt. So if that becomes corrupt, then, God save the country, I mean, that's a personal opinion. So that is where, the judiciary system comes into play to really, make a country stronger and powerful, and therefore have people believe in the country. So, I mean, that is, just a thought. I mean, I have to thank, everybody. I mean, for their, presentation. I mean, it was such a wonderful thing. I mean, Dr. Saleh Al-Muqtab, I mean, His Excellency, he was a former minister, and therefore he could give a kind of a perception that continued from the post-Iraq war to the present time, how things have changed in Iraq, okay? And then Honorable Hannah Edward has given information on the Iraqi women, how the gender role is taking place within the Iraqi, life, where women are come out openly to, and taken a kind of a stand against the government, which is really good. And then Dr. Munkit Drager has provided statistical information, which is more, I mean, a survey information, which has proven that the public, as an Iraqi citizen, still, doesn't trust the government, or, I mean, the corruption is the root cause of current life or present day life in Iraq. And so, I mean, this is something that we really, admire, that this is an eye-opening for me. I mean, I never realized, I mean, the real facts of Iraq. This is the first time I was able to understand Iraq and, what's happening in Iraq, and how the future of Iraq would be, I can imagine. And let's hope for the best, and let's hope the elections would, give a.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your closing remarks. Of course, I'm in violation of the time. It's almost 7-8 minutes. So I would like again to, on your behalf, our audience, and also on behalf of Bridgewater State University and the MINIC, to thank our speakers, Dr. Saleh Al-Mutlaq, he's Deputy Prime Minister, former Deputy Prime Minister. Also the Honorable Hannah Edward, because she, her service to the country is well known, well documented in terms of gender studies and women and gender studies, and working with the youth. And also our friend spoke from Amman today, Dr. Munkit Dagher. I think his contribution is well established, because numbers maybe lying, can lie, but with the interpretation and the explanation, I think it's very solid for that. Thank you so much for being with us. This will be broadcasted by the cable TV, BTV9, and also will be available online in less than 24 hours. Thank you again, and have a wonderful evening in Baghdad and in Amman, and good afternoon here. And remember to put your mask, wash your hand, and keep your physical distance. Thank you so much and have a good day.